Okay. Hopefully, okay, good. So I can see that the sound should be working just fine. So I really had no idea at all that I was going to be getting on and doing a live whatsoever today, because I'm sure y'all know I probably wouldn't be wearing this shirt again, right? So funny. I swear it gets washed in between, guys. But that, yeah, it's pretty funny. Anyhow. I chose not to put the flag up this time only because I'm going to show you an exercise to get through this. So this is part testimony, part prophetic word, part teaching, part who knows what else ends up happening, right? Because the Bible tells us that we only know in part, we only prophesy in part. And so I had been out this day taking care of some things. It's actually because, happy St. Patty's Day, everybody. It is why I wore this shirt, because it's green. And I actually went out and was on the bus for a little while today. And I haven't been on the bus out here for a while. So a lot of things have changed. And it's actually a lot of things have changed for the good. And the seats are comfy. I was really surprised. I was expecting it to be a hard seat. It was very comfy. And well, the interesting thing is, and the reason I bring it up is because this shirt got a lot of attention today in a good way. And it was really encouraging walking around with so many people that just kept saying, oh my gosh, I love that shirt. Yes, such a great shirt. And, the couple of few times that I was able to actually, I hope that person didn't get upset that they were in the background, but that's what happens when you're in a public place, right? Anyways, so, yeah, I was like, you know what? Like, it's so crazy because I got this shirt before the whole no kings thing, but I almost love wearing it now that people say that, because I'm like, yeah, people can say no king all they want, but there's only one king that actually matters, right? That's Jesus, Yeshua, our King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And he is faithful and just to forgive us of our sins when we confess them to him. And, I feel like a lot of that, I totally didn't plan on saying any of that, but I just wanted to mention, because it went there, that verse that says, confess your sins one to another. What I truly believe that God showed me in that, because of being on both ends of needing an apology and having to say, I'm sorry, right? So, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm losing my thought there. Oh my gosh, I derailed myself, because I do that sometimes when I feel like I have to explain the thing that I was saying. If it comes back to me, I'll share it again. I'm so sorry. I'll probably go back and see what it was, because it didn't have anything to do with the message anyways. It was kind of a little rabbit trail. So I am trying to figure out how to get better at lives and things like that. Also, the only reason really that I've been doing lives is because I haven't no memory on my phone to record something. And usually when I need to get a word out, I'm just like, I don't need to do a bunch of fancy stuff to it. I just you guys just need to know about it. So what is so incredibly fascinating to me is, for those of you guys who don't know, oh man, I don't think I brought a copy with me today. But for those of you who have seen my book, Hidden in Plain Sight, Decoding the Day, what is really interesting about that, for any of you that maybe are not aware, or maybe you are and you've been seeing the Watchman Daily forecasts, that is what that book teaches you how to do. That book teaches you how to decode the day. And so I have a bunch of those for almost the entire year already scheduled out for 4:14 in the morning, for Esther, 4:14 for such a time as this. And then at some point, it wouldn't let me put the 14, so I just started doing 4 o'clock. So when you see that shift, that's just because that's when that happened. It wouldn't let me do it from the computer for some reason. I don't know, it's weird. anyhow, I digress. So they're all pre-posted out. So on the day of, I utilize them just the same as you guys. So I look at it and I'm like, okay, what is in today? Because even though I put the information out there, that was like weeks ago. It's not like I remember everything for every day, right? Like that's impossible. So I utilize it as my daily devotion also. Like I wake up in the morning and I utilize those recordings Monday through Friday for what does today say. However, today, because I had to go catch a bus and try to get to a certain place by a certain time, I had to leave really early. And so I didn't have a chance to read. And when I leave, I don't have internet. So I was not able to look at it until just recently when I got to the library, of which I didn't even know I'd be coming to today. And the Lord just led me here because that's what happens when you spend your time saying, which way do I go? And he says that there's a voice that will come from behind us and tell us to go to the left or the right. And that's where today landed me right here. And when I got into the room that just happened to be available, I looked at today's forecast. And I love when synchronicity like this happens, but today is day 22 of our hashtag 260 New Testament challenge for this year. Now, that lined up with Acts 22. And it's just, because we've been doing Monday through Friday, it really just, it felt like an extra umph of a day that day 22 landed on Acts 22. So before I did anything, because I really did not know what I was going to do right now. I didn't know what God wanted me to work on or phone call I needed to make or what I was going to do. So I read today, and God just started downloading all this information and teaching me things through here. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this what, do you want me to share this with everyone? And so here I am, because obviously he wanted me to share it, or at least it was okay if I did. So really what I'm just sharing with you guys is what I learned through looking at the daily forecast, which was incredible because so many things that were happening when I looked back at it, where I was like, oh my gosh, that happened today. And yes, that was totally happening. And then I totally felt this happening. And all of it, I was like the pew, pew, wow, 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 super cool. And then as I'm reading, and then I get to the reading assignment, and I'm like, oh yeah, that. And then so then I read it, but then when I read it, whoa, 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 whoa. Because I had thought about getting on and doing a teaching video, and that all ended up being part of it. It was when I first came in, they always asked, do you want the keyboard and the mouse? And I'm like, yes. And do you want the dry erase? Normally I don't need them. But then all of a sudden she said dry erase. And I was like, oh, I saw myself showing you guys how to hopscotch through time. I'm going to teach you how to rewrite a trigger, because this all ties together, and I just love it, love it, love it when that happens. Okay, so if you have had a chance, and if you haven't, then I just want to encourage you to go read today's daily reading for Acts 22. This is the story where Paul is on his way to Damascus. And as Paul is on his way to Damascus, he literally has the coming to Jesus moment, and the light is really bright. Everybody else around him can see the light, but they can't hear what he hears. And God is just talking to him and telling him, I need you to go to Damascus. And then from there, I will tell you, I will give you instruction. And so that caught me right away, where I was just like, wow, okay. So, we all like to, really hone in on, and this is so much part of it too, because it is a coming to Jesus wake up moment, right? And that's what we do at AwakeNotWoke ministry. We wake up, right? And come out of darkness and heal the trauma that it created. That's what we do, right? So today's no different. And today is that 22 day of doing that. And oh my gosh, Isaiah 22:22 is that any door that God opens, I'm like, for some reason, just all over the place with that one. So I'm just let's just go look at it. How about that? Alrighty then. Isaiah 22:22. The key of the house of David, I will lay on his shoulder, so he shall open and no one shall shut, and he shall shut and no one shall open. That was New King James Version. And let me see if it gives me, because when possible, a lot of times I really like to look at the Passion Translation because it's so passionate about the word and I love it. Okay, let's see how they say it. I will place upon his shoulders the key to the treasures of David's palace. He will open doors that no one can shut, and he will shut doors that no one can open. That was just an interesting way to say it. But anyways, that's that 22:22 for us, right? Day 22, Acts 22. God is literally, that's what's just like this whole thing about the time frame and where we are and what is happening and everything. And the way that all of this message is coming together is just like blowing my mind. So if you don't have your Bible out, you're going to want to grab that, open it up to Acts 22, and you know, you might be able to if you don't have it, that's totally fine also. But it is fun to have. Right now, currently, just because of walking with so much weight, I only went with the phone today. I always feel sad not having it, but anyways, moving forward. Okay, so we are in a crossover season right now where we're going from Adar into tomorrow is going to be a new month, a new civil year for the Hebrew calendar. And this is now going to, as of tomorrow, be the month of Nisan, where Passover happens and all of that. And now we're coming out of Adar, a time of divine reversals. And so today is kind of like that threshold kind of moment, which just makes me it blows my mind even more with the connection of the Damascus Road and the, you know, being blinded, and then he gets there and he has to, here's the other thing that like really got me, that really just struck me so much, because what God was showing me about rewriting the trauma triggers is that there's so many people that are stuck in victim mentality right now. And we really need to shift and get out of that, like wake up and stop creating. And I'm going to tell you guys a story. This is where Testimony Tuesday comes in, where I'm going to share a story with you guys where God had highlighted this, and he taught me in that moment how I was with victim mentality, creating eggshells for people to walk on. Now, we don't think that we're doing that, but we are. You know, when people say, oh, I feel like I'm always walking on eggshells around you, it's important to step back and say, what am I doing that is causing people to feel that way? You know, because I'm sure you don't want to walk on eggshells, and you don't want to throw them out there for other people and expect them not to walk on it. That's not fair to anybody else. And then now you're not taking any responsibility for yourself. And so this is like a road to Damascus kind of day, where it's like, wake up, people, and get out of victim mentality. It's not about that anymore. It's about actually like taking on and recognizing and seeing that you have been freed from that. Because Paul is such a good example here. He gets blinded, guys, blinded, and then told, now go keep traveling. Well, you're freshly new to being blind. So it's not like he was born with it and knew how to navigate other senses and things like that are now all of a sudden getting heightened. And, you know, and so, you know, like when God might dull one sense, he's going to heighten other ones. Maybe he really needed Paul to hear him before he could see him, you know? And so that was the process he had to go through. And maybe a lot of us have had to go through that type of a process also. And this threshold that we're in right now, it's like he was like, after I read, I then went into just listening to some worship songs that really just kind of get me pumped. And one of the lines says, time is ticking, it's time to time. I didn't write it all down right, but there's something about the time was ticking and it's time to pick a side. And it's like, you can't expect to heal like I think it's in John 5, the guy who is at the pool of Bethesda or whatever, and he's there for like 28 years or something, and he wants to be healed. And Jesus is like, well, he asks him flat out, do you want to be well? And the guy says all this stuff. And I love that Jesus pays no attention to all the excuses that he gives. Instead, Jesus says, okay, well then pick up your mat and go, which means we've got to do something about it. Now, Paul is a great example of something happened to him, and he could have sat back and been like, oh guys, help me, I can't see, I don't know how to be a blind person, I don't know how to navigate myself, guys, you got to help me. He didn't do that. He could have got into town and then told everybody, oh my gosh, I'm blind, oh, I need your help, I'm, I don't know, like, I need you to do this for me, and I need you to do that for me. He could have been victim, but he didn't. He was obedient in discomfort. He was obedient in something that didn't make sense to him. He didn't know what was happening, and he gets stopped. Where is it? Verse 22, verse 10 is where it says something about arise and go to Damascus, and there you will be told all things. So see, that's the thing, is Paul is blind. He is led by others, waits and receives clarity through Ananias. So there's, even through that transition, feels like another thing that God was really highlighting through this time that we are in right now with this crossover. Like the whole thing is layered, and I feel like the more we're talking about it, the more is coming out with it as well, because we're going from this one life into the next, right? Like every day is a daily pick up your cross and follow me. Well, we shouldn't still be battling all of the same things, but one thing we do battle is just different thoughts, different things our flesh craves or desires or this or that. And every day it's a daily dependency on Christ, but a daily discipline also of crucifying our flesh, of working out our own salvation with fear and trembling and all of the things, right? And so it's about not letting ourselves go to victim mentality. And people who have been traumatized can, for a little while there, live with a victim mentality because you were a victim and you want justice. You want to hear somebody say it wasn't okay that happened to you. And if you're someone who needs to hear someone say that to you today, then I'm telling you, you are not a victim, you are a victor. Whatever it was that you went through, whatever kind of abuse that it was that you went through, it was not fair, it was not right, but God is your vindicator. But God, two of the most powerful words in the English dictionary that got pushed together, but God, okay? And that's what this road to Damascus is but God. I was blind, God said, what are you doing? Why are you doing this to me? And then, God is merciful with him and tells him all the things. And, so then we know what, if you don't know Paul and the story of Paul, then get in your word, because you should know some things, right? So 1 Corinthians, I say this one a lot and I just happen to have it written down, so I want to throw it out there. But 1 Corinthians 13:9 says, for we only know in part, we only prophesy in part. That's why we can read the Bible, and it's also because it's alive and breathing, double-edged sword. I know a lot of verses, I speak Jesus, but I don't always have the addresses, so sometimes I want to give them to you guys when I have them. But that is why we only know in part, prophesy in part. When we read the Bible, it's alive and breathing, and we can learn something in one sitting, and then 5 minutes later learn something else. 5 years later, 50 years later, you can read the same one every day for the rest of your life, and God can teach you something new out of it. Because we only know in part, we only prophesy in part, so he will give us a little bit at a time. And when we share with each other, we also can help bring more of the pieces together. Whew, okay, so let's talk a little bit about victim mentality and how to break yourself out of it, what it looks like to throw eggshells out there, and I'm going to teach you guys how to hopscotch through time with Jesus, okay? All right, so first, I'm going to share with you the story that I went through where God taught this to me, okay? So there was a time that I was in a car with some friends, and this song came on, and I almost stopped them and said, can we please change this song? Every time I hear it, it makes me think of yada, yada, yada. And as I started to say it, I literally felt the Holy Spirit pull me back and just say, not this time. And as he pulled me back and I kept my mouth closed, he showed me like a narrator watching a movie and like commentary being spoken over it, the entire scene as it was happening. He's like expressing these things and showing me what I used to do and what would have happened, and how he was like, just be quiet and watch what happens this time when you don't do what you used to do, and let's evaluate how that like what the dynamics did to that. And then it was by the time I was done with that is when he showed me that all along I had been throwing eggshells out there and then expecting other people not to step on them. And then that's where, you know, the victim mentality is, oh, you're hurting me, like, but it's so what I would have normally before, I would have said the please stop the music. When we do that, when we say this triggers me to trauma, when we tell someone that something that is happening in a moment is triggering to trauma, what we're doing is now bringing them into our trauma loop. What we're now doing is throwing out all of the eggshells, and that's when we're hoping they're not going to step on it. We're hoping they're going to pick them up and tell us, oh, this was a very fragile moment in your life, and I'm so sorry. Let me help you pick these fragile pieces of yourself up, right? That's what we think is going to happen, but instead everybody's like, ooh, eek, that's a rough story. Ugh. And really it just makes people uncomfortable, unless it's like a time that you're trying to open up and communicate about something like that, you know? So what he had shown me by restraining myself and not saying anything is what had happened instead was that they started singing the song and everyone started laughing and it became really fun. And this was where God first, oh my gosh, I can't even realize, I did not realize that until this moment. This is the moment that God really started teaching me how to hopscotch through time, because it was through a moment like this. And then when it came, so what God had showed me is, oh my gosh, it's just, I'm tripping out right now because I was like, what? Oh my gosh. It was like, just because there's a verse that says he brings to remembrance all things. So he just reminded me about that. So it was awesome. But, so, because I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, because I want to teach you guys this this concept of what happens here is, so what happened instead of now, because before it would be like, oh, they'll turn the song and then everybody's like sitting there and they're like, we're so sorry. And now everything turns into this, I'm so sorry for you. I'm so sorry that happened. And then the next time the song comes on, even if now you're not thinking about it, now they are. Oh, I'm so sorry. This is that song that bothered you. Oh, I'm so sorry. No, we won't play it. It's okay. Oh yeah, I used to like it, but no, it's okay. I don't have to listen to this right now. It's okay. So even if you are feeling good that day and it didn't trigger you to it, now this person brought you back into your trauma loop. And now you're both in the trauma loop. So do you see how it further perpetuates and continues and continues? And now instead of renewing your mind and snapping out of it, which is what I'm going to teach you how to do, it then further perpetuates it. You stay in it. You're in that Damascus. You're blind. You're blind. That's your road to Damascus. And God is saying, it's time. He's sending you. Okay, this is the other part I was going to say earlier, because you just reminded me again of the road to Damascus part of it, where right now there's a bunch of people that God is like shifting and moving around, and he might be ushering you to maybe a new job, maybe a new church, maybe a new location to live, maybe a new state altogether. Like God is ushering you into a new place and you're waiting for all the direction, but he's already given you a chunk of it. And it's like the road to Damascus. He's saying, I'll give you the rest of the information once you get there. And he showed me that part of that is because some of the people in your life right now are not privy to that information. And if it's put out there, like monitoring spirits and stuff, then they can, the demonic realm will come in and try to like stumble their way through and everything. So he's waiting until you get there where you have someone like an Ananias, like Paul had, who is then going to instruct you on what your next step is. Okay, so now going back to trauma triggers. Okay, so now what happened was, this is how we began hopscotching through time. So let's look at this like this time. So we're here. Okay, so this time right here, okay, so this was the first time the song came on, okay? So now this time when the song came on, instead of vocalizing, this is a really sad song, instead of that, what I did, what God showed me what was happening is I was soaking in a new memory. He started teaching me more and more. What we do on each one of these parts is that we soak in as many senses as we can. Now you think about Paul, he lost his vision. That is one of our senses. And because his vision was gone, he had his other senses that we know now what happens is the other ones get heightened, right? And so God said that he had a message for him. He would give him the rest of the information, but he had to get there to get it. So God blinds him so that he could hear the information that he needed when he got there. So God conditioned his body. So if you're without something that you're used to having, you're without something that you think you need right now, I still feel like the prophetic word, it just keeps coming out in this more and more. And it all still has to do with this, because you can't go into this next season where God is sending you with victim mentality and expect to hear him correctly. So we have really, as the body of Christ, really need to take in Romans 12, 1 through 2, okay? This is the backbone of all of this. This is about our body as a living sacrifice. That means walking it out, doing it, picking up your mat. That means going through the process of renewal of mind, like this, like hopscotching through time, okay? This is our time travel. This is literally how you renew your mind. This is how you rewire the neuro circuits, the neural pathways in your brain, where when I was in 2016, I was told that I had permanent damage to my brain, and that I would always have to be on medication, that I would always have to just figure out a way to cope with life, basically telling me healing wasn't there for me. It was like, tough cookie, you know what I mean? Like, you don't get to have healing. And I was like, how can you tell me this is impossible when I believe in a God who tells me all things are possible? All, right? All things. And so that's why I set out on a journey and asking God how to do this to myself, how to renew my mind, because no one else was showing me how to do it biblically. And I wanted to renew my mind with the word of God. And so that's where he showed me these things. That's why in this moment, I got to a moment where he was able to teach me, hey, it's time to wake up. It's time to realize that you've been blinded by victim mentality, and it's time to snap out of it. It's time to put your big girl panties on and do this thing, right? The Bible does not talk about an inner child. The Bible talks about an inner man, okay? The world wants you to stay stuck on your milk and honey, but God is asking you to advance. He's saying it's time to grow up. It's time to wake up. It's time to let that inner man mature and let him fight your battles. If you think that, like you're never going to get an apology from someone, then, that should not stop you from picking up your mat and allowing yourself to heal. Okay. And so this tool, if you really utilize how to hopscotch through time, it is going to renew your mind, and it is going to help your life get a lot healthier and happier, because you're now no longer throwing out those eggshells for everybody to walk on, okay? So when you get to your first moment where you realize, oh my gosh, I'm being triggered by yada yada, whatever it is. It does not matter if it is a smell, a person, a place, or whatever it is that you are being triggered by. For each and every one of them, now it takes a minimum of 63 days for you to rewire and actually create a new healthy neural path that has now been scientifically proven by Dr. Caroline Leaf, that you can heal your brain at any age. And so that the doctors that have it, it's been scientifically proven now by a Christian neuroscientist that they are wrong. You can heal your mind, and this is a tool that can help you live out Romans 12, 1 and 2. If you apply it, if you give yourself that time. So let's say this is that first time, and that kind of starts the clock where now you consciously are thinking about it, and there's 3 sets of 21 days that gives you your 63 days, or it's just as it happens, just in that time, okay? Because so And please, if you have any questions, please reach out. And I am available for the moment for coaching or mentoring. Just look at the links. I think there's specifically one for booking, and you can also check out the website if anybody needs help processing through these. Okay, because what we're going to do is the first time that it happens, you want to soak in as much of your senses as you can. What does it feel like there? Like, what do your clothes feel like? What type of material is it? What can you smell? What do you sense? What you're trying to do is override your neuropath in this moment, and you want to create a strong memory in this moment. Now, what's going to happen is somewhere down the line, another day is going to come, and yikes, it's going to feel chaotic and because you got triggered again. Now we're talking again about the same trigger, right? So now this is second time you just got triggered, right? Now here, you're going to do the same thing that you did with number one. You're going to keep quiet. You're not going to tell anybody that you were triggered. You are going to bring in all of the senses. You're going to allow yourself to feel a different emotion in that moment. Are people laughing and joyful in that moment? Is there something else going on? So you want to soak in whatever you can do to help create an imprinted moment in that moment, okay? Now what's going to happen is you wait again, and eventually you're going to end up being triggered again, right? So now here we are at a third time that you're getting triggered. Now here's where it starts to be a Back to the Future, hopscotching to the future kind of thing, where now by the time you start getting here, and then here, and then here, and then here, and then all of a sudden, I'll tell you about that moment here. Now what's going to happen is now when you get here, what's going to start happening is you're not thinking about the trauma that happened over here that caused the trigger here and that caused the trigger over here. You're no longer going to be, you're that's there, but now you've got this one to think about. Now you've got this one to think about before you get here. And so you see, now you've got all this time in between, right? Now you're getting triggered. But now, by the time you get over here, you're thinking about this moment that was really happy, and then you're thinking about this moment that was actually really happy, and then you're thinking about this moment that, hey, this was another fun moment, and then you're going over here and you're like, actually, that was another fun moment, and now you're like, I'll stop there. I'll stop here. And that's where this part becomes really, really awesome, because this is about the time that you have an aha moment where you're like, wait a minute, I haven't thought about that in a really long time. And that's where you have successfully renewed your mind, because you have now hopscotched yourself through time. So now that same song that once triggered me to this person over here, that literally I cannot even tell you what song it was or what person it was anymore, that scenario happened for me, because so many rewrites have happened that I no longer think about it. Like, I don't even know. Like, I'm literally, while I've been talking to you guys, trying to think about what was the song or what was the person. I don't remember those scenarios. My memory now backs up to where he taught me this. That's what my memory does now. That's what renewal of mind and hopscotching through time, that's what that does for you. And that's the same with even addiction. Like, when I first quit smoking cigarettes back in 2008, I remember, like, I knew that it took 3 days for it to get out of my system physically, and that after that it would be purely psychological. I remember that there was a time that I reached this aha moment of like, I haven't thought about wanting a cigarette in about a year now. And so that taught me that for me, it took a year to literally, in my mind, I didn't tell anybody I was craving a cigarette. When I finally quit, I didn't even tell anybody that I quit. It was 2 months later, finally someone said, hey, you're not going out on smoke breaks with us anymore. Is everything okay? And I'm like, yeah, everything's great. They were like, wait a minute, did you quit smoking? I'm like, yeah, I quit smoking like 2 months ago. And they're like, oh my gosh. But see, at this point, I was further enough along in it that it was okay to talk about it, because what had happened before is every time I would tell someone that I was quitting, then they would be like, oh, hey, how's it going? And then I'd be like, great, until you told me, or reminded me about it. So then eggshells, right? Eggshells. Oh, now it's all your fault. I'm thinking about it again, and now I gotta smoke, right? So now shift blaming, blame shifting, right? All the things that happen because of the toxic effects of victim mentality, until the point that I said I have to take responsibility for this from myself, and I have to protect myself in this in whatever way I need to do in order to make that happen. And I feel like even that is speaking to someone that needed to hear that. So just know that you have to safeguard your life in your road to Damascus. And you're coming to Jesus' moment where he's waking you up and saying, hey, this thing that we've been dealing with, it's time. It's time. It's time. All right, guys, it's time. It's time to take your life back into your hands and stop letting the past dictate who you are. Stop letting your past define who you are today in a way that cripples you, in a way that puts all of your mess out there and makes it somebody else's responsibility, right? I'm sorry, I'm not the person who's gonna like powder puff things. I'm here to tell it like it is. I didn't have people be real with me, and it's hard when someone, and we've all done that because we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, right? But it's time to really get serious about your healing and taking it into your hands to do what you need to do. Like, you can't say, oh, well, I'll stop my PORN addiction when I get married. My spouse will take care of that for me. No, that needs to be settled before you go into a marital covenant. Otherwise, you're bringing that junk into your marital covenant with you. Unfortunately, I know too many things from experience, guys. So it's time for all of us to start doing things the right way, the way that God has been instructing us and telling us to do it. We need to walk it out. We were blinded. Now it's time. It's time to wake up. It's time to take healing into our hands. It's time to pick up your mat and travel to wherever it is that God is telling you to go. It's time to, and the thing is that if you stay stuck in these triggers, you stay stuck in victim mentality, you're never gonna get down here to that aha moment that says, oh, this thing, that doesn't bother me anymore. Oh, no, I don't even know what that is. You're the only one that can do that. You're the only one that can change the course of the direction of your life like that. So when Jesus comes and stands there and the radiance of him is so incredibly bright, and he is saying, why do you keep persecuting me? Why do you keep doing this to me? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Are you going to play victim, or are you going to walk through it with obedience like Paul did? Because he's a really great example. He could have played on victim mentality, but he didn't. He didn't. And so that is my prayer for each and every one of us walking through something, because we all are at some point. I have been through so much trauma in my life, and I know that God is still putting me through learning and doing different things, and we're all transferring through glory to glory. And if you want to actually go glory to glory, you got to hopscotch through time sometimes. You got to put in the work. You got to do what you got to do. And I just felt like I needed to mention this also, that there is such a huge gut-mind connection. And I know for a lot of you, that is not new information. That is just a reminder right now that it is time to start eating more clean. It is time to start getting more fit and healthy. You need to have you think of it like a radio station when you're trying to talk to God, and you're trying to like tune in the frequency of, am I hearing from God? And you're trying to like, where is he at in this? That can be interrupted by eating crap food. That can be interrupted by whatever you're allowing to come in through your eye gates and your mind is thinking about it. He tells us in Philippians to think about what is noble, what is pure, what is just, what is right, and to think about those things. And instead of having anxiety, go to him with gratitude, which is even scientific in the brain. Because for those of you who don't know this fancy little nugget, I'll give you this and then I'll let you go. But This other little thing that is really amazing is that anxiety and gratitude intersect in the same place in the brain. So it's virtually impossible to experience both at the same time. So oftentimes the quickest way out of anxiety is gratitude. That is why God says, do not be anxious for anything, but with prayer and thanksgiving, take your request to him, right? So this is how you do that. When you are feeling anxiety, the first time that I learned this, even if this is the only way that you can think in the moment to handle it, it works, because then it led me to the breathing exercise I was going to tell you about. And so what happened in that moment is I was so incredibly stressed out in this one moment that I was like, wait a minute. I need to be grateful. I need to be grateful for something. And then I'm like, dang it, I am so upset. I don't even know what to think about that I'm grateful for in this moment. And so that I prayed to God. I was like, I know I need gratitude right now, but can you please remind me? My heart that is wickedly deceitful is hindering me from remembering something. That's in Jeremiah 17, I believe. And he says it's wickedly deceitful, who can trust it? And so I was like, God, please remind me what I'm grateful for. And then he reminded me of Psalms 118:24, that I use it as a breathing exercise. The 4x4 box breathing that can calm anxiety and a panic attack and all the stuff. It even helps with headaches. He showed me that that verse follows the same cadence of the 4x4 breathing. So I started breathing in. This is the day, holding for that the Lord has made, releasing for, and I will be glad. Gratitude, guys, and I will be glad. And then holding for and rejoice in it. You do that 3 to 5 times. You're now calming your body physiologically. It has a whole bunch of effects that calms your bloodstream, your neuropaths, everything. Your amygdala that gets hijacked calms down, all the stuff. Your mirror neuron is now mirroring the Bible instead of this. You've taken your thoughts captive because now you're thinking about God and you're bringing him into that, and you're breathing. And you can think about that you are glad for this day, and you can rejoice in it, because you can remember that the good, the bad, and the ugly, no matter what is happening in that day, he has allowed it to happen, or he has caused it. It is all in his hands. And if he's allowing it to happen, allow yourself to let him utilize that in your life to help you renew your mind, so that you can mature your inner child and be the inner man, so that you can then mature spiritually. And then it's like a domino effect, and it affects you mentally and spiritually and everything in your present moment. You go from milk and honey to meat and potatoes. He can take you deeper, but you've got to allow the time to let yourself heal. And if you start feeling the panic, you start feeling the anxiety, the quickest way out is through gratitude. The quickest way out is with that prayer and with breathing. Okay, guys? So I hope this helped you to understand where we're at seasonally right now, and that this tool can help you navigate going into the next season without any of the past crap. All right? So thank you guys for watching, for supporting. I want to thank all of you who have started sowing into the ministry. It has been such an incredible blessing, actually, knowing that there's some people that believe in what I'm doing so much that they've started sowing into the ministry. So I just pray a special blessing that tenfold back to you. You know, I always think of the lady who had nothing, and that was considered more. I don't like to look at, it doesn't matter if you've helped me with $1 or you've helped me with $1,000. What it is that, you know, some gave all and all gave some. I just thought of that quote. But the thing is that it all matters. It all matters. And I'm so incredibly thankful for your prayers. I'm incredibly thankful for the likes, the shares, the comments, and everything. I just pray and I hope that we can all learn and grow together, and that together we will rise as the Lion of Judah and fiercely let the world know that the King is coming very soon. And if you have the Spirit of God, then he's with you now and in you and dwelling in you and all the good stuff, right? So, all right, guys, I love you with the love of Christ. Stay awake, not woke.